And good evening, everyone. We should be live. I'm just going to check everything's working correctly. It appears to be. How are we all doing? Hello, chat. Hello, Kairu, SinoDino04. Hello, Smaug. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to get comfortable and have a slurp of this wonderful mango and passion fruit tea that Dane has just brought me. Hello, Melissa. How have your Sundays been? Hello, Burger. You love passion fruit? It's one of my favorite fruity tastes. Like, I'm not a big fan of the actual fruit itself, but the taste of passion fruit I quite like, as I love the smell as well. It's definitely been a Sunday, says Smaug. And hello, Jurassic Jaws. You love pineapple? I'm a big fan of pineapple myself. Now then, I've been struggling to get inspiration for park builds lately. It's why I've been sort of doing that numbers park, or the gambling park as Berenson calls it. But over the last week, I realised that there was one thing I could actually do. And as you've seen in the thumbnail, it's quite glitchy. It shouldn't be. Oh. We are right. We were getting some dropped frames. Might have just been a momentary internet thing there. It should be a little bit more stable. But yeah, back if you've seen the thumbnail, back at the very beginning of Jurassic World Evolution 2's release, I built a park on Arizona called the Arizona Reserve, and it was a fairly decent park, but obviously it was back when the game first released, so didn't have lots of mods, didn't have lots of the DLC stuff that we have now. And I thought it would be interesting to go back and rebuild the Arizona Reserve with the advantages that we all have now. And as you can see, I've already done some basic prep work. I've already put the massive aviary in the center and the entrance plaza, and I've constructed the entrance already. As you can see, it is a covered entrance. If I just head in here, we've got a lovely little covered entrance area and two fountain seating areas. And you might notice that I have finally caved and gone and gotten Kyadenic's expanded path and pylons mod, because really I just cannot do without it now. So yeah, that's what I've spent the last few days doing. And we also now have this lovely, I stole this from, I saw this on Battle of the Builders, and I thought this was a really great idea. So I thought this was a wonderful choice, just to have as a nice entranceway. But yeah. So, I also love the fact that we have like hedgerows thanks to Kyadenic now. Makes a real big improvement. So this is going to be, you know, a build as we go. And just so you guys know what the old map used to be like, basically down here in the corner was where all the staff buildings were, because back then we couldn't build on SANDBOX without the staff buildings. So there was a staff area down here. This side of the map was kind of reserved for a natural landscape with some small hotels and a camping area. There was a mountain ridge basically in this little bit here. There was a huge supersized lagoon at the back. And obviously you have this big aviary. And then on this side there was like a smaller lagoon and garden. And then we had some greenhouses here for paleo plants. So I kind of want to stick to that sort of layout, but just basically do it with all the advantages of modding and all the new stuff that we have now. So, what we're going to focus on today is constructing basically the bit around the plaza, and this was consisting of a guest area with shops and amenities, an attraction on the other side, and sort of doing this plaza. And unlike the first build where this lagoon was just basically empty, I actually want to use this lagoon for a species and have a viewing dome in here. So we also need to figure out sort of what we're going to make this look like as well. But that's the general gist. So I'm going to get started, and like I say, I want to do the guest area over here first. Now, these two squares mark out where there were, in the original build, dinosaur enclosures. So I'm just going to use these as a rough guide. At some point we need to figure... So the staff path used to run basically from here around the edge. I still would like that to be a thing. So I'm probably going to have like a staff path coming off here and going this way. Oh, bugger, it's... You should, you know, never be dismissive about your own builds. Everyone builds in their own way and has their own style. Okay, so I think I kind of want... Yeah, because then we could have like viewing towers or viewing gallery here. So I am going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. There we go. We could still have a staff path coming off here, which will just basically head this way. One, 2, 3. Doesn't have to be too big, the area where we have our amenities. Now, I kind of want to keep with the symmetry of this, so I kind of want there to be something here. You're building a saltwater crocodile habitat in Planet Zoo right now, and you're building Jurassic World Evolution 2 looks better than it. Well, maybe I can give you a hand? Like, what is it specifically you like about what I've built here? Maybe you can try to replicate it. So go 1 and 2 and 3. And we're going to put in that in there. Now then, amenity time. That is too close, so I'm gonna step it away just a little bit more. That might be too far back, actually. Okay. Let's go for a medium-sized one then. That fits better, actually. Yeah, we'll go for mediums. Now, if we're gonna have a dinosaur exhibit over there, do I want it facing that way? No, we'll have it facing this way. We'll make sure it's quite close to that. Not too close, but close-ish. So, about there. No worries, Rob. Dacosaurus and Metriorhynchus would be welcome additions to Jurassic World Evolution 3. Metriorhynchus, certainly. I think the rhynchonoids are actually a very interesting group of lagoon animals. They're the other big group of aquatic reptiles. You know, you've got the ichthyosaurs, the plesiosaurs, the mosasaurs, the pliosaurs, and then you've got the rhynchonoids. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see them. Hello, your average Sonic. I swear I've been waiting for myself to get Planet Zoo, and it finally comes out for console, and I have the wrong console. Ah, that sucks, I know. Now, let's go for wood. Let's go for that. Gonna move it. We're gonna have it there. I want people to be sat on top. I also want people to be sat. Actually, no, we'll go for the lamps. Make it burger. Now, color combination. What shall we go with for this park? I want to do something a little bit different. That's quite a nice color. If you could have one species in Jurassic World Evolution 3, what would it be? I'm going to say Saltosaurus, because it's a genuine armored sauropod. And it's another small-ish type of sauropod, so it would work quite well. I do quite like this off-green. Okay, let's go with that. Let's do... It's too close to subway colours. Maybe a deep red? Or maybe a lighter green? Or a blue? How about a darker blue? Lighter blue? Gold. That looks quite good. It's the Aston Martin Formula 1 racing team colours. What do people think? British racing green and gold for our amenities? Oh, Platyosaurus is a good choice, actually, Kairu. Yeah, Platyosaurus is probably one of the other big ones. I think that looks quite nice. There we go. So that's what our amenity color scheme will be. Now, I want to kind of vary how we do the amenities around the park. So over here, we're going to have, let's try and just get that properly in there. There we go. Over here, the two amenities, they're going to be back-to-backs. So we're going to do one, which is our drink. And one which is going to be our shop. There we go. Now we can put in the rest of this path. We should probably think about a toilet, which we can just put... okay. Which we can put behind. Maybe not. We could put it behind and then cover that up. We need slightly more there. I think this needs to be moved over a bit. I think that looks a little better. I see chat pinging off. Let me just put in this these path bits, and then I'll have a look at chat. There we go. Evo Square wants me to say hello to you. Thank you, Rob. If I had to suggest one new feature for Jurassic World Evolution 3, it would be individual variation between the dinosaurs. I don't think that's necessarily necessary. I understand why people want it, but honestly, I don't think it's... You know, if we're talking about, you know, this might be the only new feature that they add to the game, for example. I think there are potentially more important new features that I think I would rather see Frontier work on. Okay, so that's where our staff path is going to start here. We will have a gate, a staff gate, sort of blocking that off. What the hell is Rhamphorhynchus? You've never heard of Rhamphorhynchus, Smaug? Well, sometimes, Sonic, it's nice to just be, you know, hang out with other people, just, you know, socialize. There's nothing wrong with just, you know, hanging out with folks. Okay, so what I want to do is line the edge of this with fencing, have like a gateway into this area. We're going to have a dinosaur exhibit here. It's going to be below the level of this current pathway, so it'll be dropped down a little bit extra. And we could have viewing here, or we could have viewing here. I need to figure that one out. What I think would be quite nice is to have like a maybe a gate here. No, that's a bit much. That's a bit much. We'll just put like a guest fence here. What type of fencing? Log? Tool uneven, maybe. That might be too tall. It looks more like a fortification. That looks... That looks like they're preparing for war, not... That might be a little nicer. we don't want to give our guests ideas. We'll put this one in just for the time being, even though we'll probably delete that. Okay, we want to have something to kind of bookend the edges, so I'm thinking classic obelisk. Yeah. Hello, sarcastic paleontologist. Blimey, chat's busy today. Hey Fletcher, have you seen any of the new stuff for Jurassic World Rebirth? I have, Barger. I have seen the Megalodon jaws. In fact, me and Evo were having a big discussion about it yesterday night after, you know, the news. Or I say the news after, you know, people got to see it. I'll be brutally honest. If Megalodon is in the film, that would probably make me want to not see it. If they go and put Megalodon in the movie, that would probably make me go, I see. This is just going to be another, you know, pointless action fest. You know, oh, we're putting the Meg in here because everyone loves the Meg because of the Megalodon films. You know, they're not putting it in there for any other reason. It would totally drive me away from watching the film. And I'm trying to hold off the Romans. The Roman Empire will not have our dinosaurs. You gotta watch out for those Romans. They're crafty devils. I've decided I don't like that. I've also decided I think that is too much. That's also too much. So instead of having oh, let's just quickly sort this out. Oh, bugger. I didn't make this save as default. There we go. Save as default. I forgot to set the colors as defaults. What a faux pas. There we go. I'd be very iffy on Megalodon. It's one thing to have Cenozoics become and we have them make films for that. Exactly. Today I watched a movie called Yakarten Paroda Oktober. If anyone can translate that, it would be great. About a rogue Soviet submarine. That's Red October, I think. About a rogue Soviet submarine. I think that's Red October, Smaug. Or, no, it's The Hunt for Red October. Yakarten Paroda October. Yeah, I think it's The Hunt for Red October. That is a fantastic movie with the late Sean Connery in it. Absolutely brilliant film. One of those movies that, like, there aren't many movies that I personally think that everybody should go and see in their life. The Hunt for Red October is one of them. Like, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it, because it's a fantastic thriller film. And it's got he who plays Alan Grant in it as well. So you've got Sean Connery and he who plays Alan Grant in it. And it's also got, who's John Travolta? Is it John Travolta? I think it is. As well. Like, some really big names in the film, so you're pretty decent there. Sorry, I've gone on a bit of a ramble about one of my favourite films. Well, actually, no, I'm not sorry, because that proves that, like, I do have movies I adore. I don't just hate every single film, which I think some people think. After hearing me criticize Dominion, I think some people think I just hate every movie that's ever existed, but I don't. There are some genuine movies that I absolutely love. Right, and we just need to switch this to panels. Now this one is our souvenir store, so I'm going to give it slightly different. Make it a bookshop. There we go. Okay, so this will just basically be a garden. We'll have, So, something I really need to get better on is not just putting down these rocks as they are, because they do actually have interesting qualities. If you rotate them about a bit, you see that's got quite a flat surface. So what I want to do is actually use that flat surface for a dinosaur statue. I'm also going to put down like just a couple of others around here, because obviously that statue will then end up being flanked by those two flaming pillars. It'll look quite good as you're walking up to it. So what dinosaur statue do we want to have on this pillar? Give me some suggestions, folks. Oh yeah, James L. Jones in it as well, Smaug. Yeah. Massive, massive movie. I I'm seeing a lot of chat about the Cenozoics in the next game. I will give my opinion on that in a second, once we sort out this little bit, because I have a contrary opinion to Evo. You liked my rewrite of Dominion Triclaw, no matter what some people say about it. Thank you, Karu. It did annoy some people, and again, I will talk about that in a minute, because I have a particular bug to bear. When you started your YouTube channel, did you start with mods or did you do unmodded? Well, now that's an interesting question, Jurassic Jaws. Alamo on the Rock, says Mackie, could do Alamo. When I started the channel, it was with Jurassic World Evolution 1, and by that time, I think Alamo might be a bit big, Mackie. I might suggest something a tad smaller. Let's pick something that's a little bit smaller. Utahraptor. You could go for Uta. Where is Uta? Yeah, Jurassic Jaws. So when I started, it was with Jurassic World Evolution 1, which by the time I actually started the YouTube channel was already very much in the way of modding. When Jurassic World Evolution 2 first came out, I did play it unmodded. I streamed it unmodded, played it for a couple of weeks unmodded, did a build on the channel unmodded. Utahraptor might be a bit small. I want something slightly bigger than Utahraptor. A Margosaurus. But I mean, one thing I will say is that going into Jurassic World Evolution 3, I have decided to kind of do what Evo did. I'm going to play the game unmodded for at least a year after release, and only then will I start modding. Because I think potentially one of the reasons why Jurassic World Evolution 2 never really worked itself into my heart was because I modded it too fast. So yeah, I'm gonna try and go for something different next time round. I'm gonna try a few of these. So Amargasaurus. Someone said Anki. Could you Anki? Anki might be a good bet, actually. Let's try Anki. Okay, Anki I really like. We'll go with Anki. Whoever said Ankylosaurus, well done. Good suggestion. Can we just force Frontier at gunpoint to add mod support to Jurassic World Evolution 3? Okay, so there's a few things that I need to talk about. So let's start with that one. The whole question of mod support with Jurassic World Evolution 3. It is not Frontier's fault. The reason that there is no mod support is the console requirement. And I believe the console requirement is probably a universal demand. Universal has probably insisted that they make it come out on console at the same time, because I don't know if anyone's noticed, but Frontier usually doesn't release their games on console at the same time as they do their PC releases. Usually they come later, and that's for, to ensure the game actually works correctly. I think it's probably Universal who are saying to them, look, we want it to come out on everything at the same time. And that's the reason why you cannot have mod support. Mod support on consoles is massively lacking. Obviously it's getting better, but it will never, ever, and this is something that console gamers are going to have to console gamers have to accept this. It will never, in terms of the modding scene, it will never ever be as good as it is on PC. Strictly because on a PC, you have complete 100% control over every single file on your computer. Whereas with consoles, Xbox and Sony, you literally can't have that because it's their sort of business secrets. They guard those. So you can never ever have a console that's as free and as open to modify as a computer is. So yes, modding may eventually get to a point where, you know, it's a little more common on consoles, but it will never be as good. And that is it's an unfortunate fact of life. If you're a console gamer, you have to accept that sort of diminishment. And if that makes me a PC master racist, fine, but I'm kind of tired of consoles kind of you know, ruining PC games. So yeah, I think that looks rather good. Right, yes, so let's talk about my take on Cenozoics. Evo is one of the big proponents of having Cenozoics in the next game. My thoughts about it is that we'll try Suko Jurassic. Okay, I'll give Suko a look in, but I think Ankylo is still going to end up being better if I can grab the Ankylo. Okay, I think Ankylo is going to be there forever. You know what? The next one of those little plazas we do, which will probably be over here, I'll put a Suko on there, Jurassic Jaws, okay? Or I might do like another little one over here. We'll see. Anyway, back to my thoughts about Cenozoics. So, Evo is a big proponent of Cenozoics as it kind of answers the somewhat thorny question of, like, what could they even bring to a new Jurassic World Evolution game? Cenozoics is a pretty easy answer. My problem is that Cenozoic species are just kind of boring. And before I get tons and tons and tons of hatred for that, let me justify it. The problem with a lot of Cenozoic animals is that, in reality, they haven't changed all that much because they haven't really had time to. You know, mammals have been about in that sort of form for 30 million years. If you're thinking about when the first big mammals arrived. And if you think about what mammals are Frontier likely to introduce, you're basically going to be saying, well, they'll probably have a mammoth, they'll probably have Smilodon, they'll probably have maybe Glyptodon if they're imaginative. So what we'll end up with is actually a big cat and an elephant. An elephant taken from Planet Zoo and retextured. That's what it will be. Yes, there are more interesting ones. I do accept that, Barger. There are animals like the entelodonts, the calicotheres, the intricatheres I could take or leave, but the Arsinotherium and Brontotherium, okay, yeah, I accept. Those are interesting animals. Very interesting animals. But at the end of the day, they are extremely, extremely similar to a lot of modern day animals. Now, if I wanted to play a game with a lot of modern day animals, we already have that. It's called Planet Zoo. I want to play a game where I am playing with animals that are not commonplace. And it kind of goes back to this. It goes back to this question, and I would say the franchise has never moved on from this question. Let me know what you guys think. But I feel like the franchise has been forever tarred by the line from the first film, where Claire Dearing turns round and goes, "People look at a stegosaurus in the same way as an elephant. Nobody is interested in dinosaurs anymore." And I feel like they've never kind of repaired that. You know, it was my biggest problem with that movie was this belief that people could be bored of dinosaurs, which I never thought made any sense. And I feel like the franchise is kind of been damaged by that, because every time a new film comes out, it's like, oh, we've got to have, you know, Dominion, oh, we've got to have a giant Quetzalcoatlus, and we've got to have Dimetrodon, and we've got to have these hybrids, because of this very demented idea, I say, that no one is interested in dinosaurs anymore. And I just don't think that's true. And yeah, I would much rather see animals from before the time of the dinosaurs. You know, gorgonopsids and all the other range of animals from before the Triassic period, or even before the Jurassic, because there's a lot of Triassic period animals which are actually very interesting that the game is still missing. I would take them over a retextured Planet Zoo elephant or a retextured Planet Zoo cat, tiger, or lion. I just think there's more interesting animals. Terror birds are perhaps one of the few things that I do agree with Evo on, that terror birds would be really, really cool to have in game. But that's, you know, that's a very specific niche of animal. I've kind of been wondering what to put in here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of these in. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab it. And I'm going to say we're going to put it about here, and we're going to lift it up ever so slightly. So we've kind of got like an alcove arrangement, and then we're gonna use these alcoves for things. So yeah, terror birds are one of the few things I would love to see in the game. But mammoths, meh, I could take it or leave it, you know? I think the other big question here is also, like, one of the problems I have with Moss Chops is a very good idea as well. Scutosaurus is a good idea. Megalania, lots of sauropodomorphs need to come in, you know. Yeah, Barger makes a good point, and I suppose this is one of my wider points that I was about to suggest. Is a lot of people, when it comes to, you know, the question of what can Jurassic World Evolution 3 actually do that's different, they default to talking about animals, and I actually think there's a lot more that the game needs to do in terms of mechanics, in terms of the building, in terms of things like the campaign, that is a lot more important than the animals, 90% of which people don't use. And I agree, Kairu. I think a lot of Paleozoic species would actually fit with the game's overall feel a lot better than a lot of the Cenozoic animals. By the way, I'm sorry if I'm going a bit slow with this build, but the idea of this build is to make something really good. So we are going to be taking our time with this build. So I do apologize if we might not get to animals in this stream, but I am going to try to talk more in these streams. So, you know, you'll get the best of both worlds. I'm going to make this taller. I kind of want it to feel more like a divide that kind of fits in. Yeah, that kind of fits in with that. That's too tall. Just wanted something that was a little taller there. That works. Okay, Smoke, thank you for popping in. Yeah, there's lots of ideas. I mean, I'm seeing aquarium systems, micro enclosures, no-hit text boxes, you know, there's a lot of possibilities of stuff that they could do. But I definitely think that people who just default to, oh, well, let's have X, you know, let's have this animal and let's have that animal. I think maybe we could do with having less animal. Or at least when it comes to a new game, not making the new game all about animal, and maybe making the new game a bit more about substance. But that's my view on it. Hello, Berenson. I using the big ones because I wanted these do work quite nicely as divides, and I just wanted to divide off the bathroom area. And what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to put a fountain here, and we'll have Sugo here. I'm going to do another one of these over here. Right, so if you're going to say have to have less animals, Fletcher, if we do, we need all the DLC animals and proper animals, and everything else can stay. That's a different subject entirely. But before we get distracted on that, yes. So Kairu mentioned liking my rewrite of Dominion for the way I handled the Spinosaurus, and I'm gonna. This was the second thing I wanted to talk about, because I've gotten some kickback for the way I have used Spinosaurus. So, I think it's fair to say that I'm not a particular fan of Camp Cretaceous. I'm not a particular fan of the show. I don't watch it. I have no intention of watching it. Just because I think it represents everything that's kind of gone wrong with the Jurassic franchise. That's my take on Camp Cretaceous. You're free to disagree, and you know, that's perfectly fine. And I have no problem with people who like Camp Cretaceous and Chaos Theory, you know? Not every TV show has to appeal to every single audience. I actually think it's healthier for some TV shows to have different audiences. My problem is that I've been criticized for not adding Camp Cretaceous references into my Dominion rewrites. Or rather, I was criticized for my response to the show being, well, I don't consider it canon, and the whole point of the rewrite was to make the film feel more like it worked within the continuity of the movies. And I stand by that, you know. I had a very specific, you know, I will tell you guys, you know, what my thoughts were. The whole point of the Dominion rewrite was to create a rewrite that would feel like it actually was part of the other movies. That's why I used the hybrids. I hate the hybrids. I think the hybrids were a terrible idea. But the fact that Dominion didn't have them made Dominion stand out in a weird way compared to the other films. So, and yes, as Kairu says, I don't think Camp Cretaceous be a mandatory watch to understand a movie. I absolutely cannot stand this modern day, and I do blame Marvel for it, even though I don't think Marvel was the first to do it, but I do blame Marvel for it. This idea now that you have to go and watch 19 different TV shows and, you know, X number of other films. Oh, and that maybe you should also read this book as well, because I know there's a Claire Dearing book, to understand a movie. I think it's absolutely outrageous. A movie should be able to hold on its own, and if it can't hold on its own, then it's not a good film. Very simple. So, what I wanted to do with the Dominion rewrite was to create a film that kind of fitted in better with the Dominion continuity, because Dominion always felt with the Jurassic World continuity, because Dominion always felt that it kind of stood out as a bit of an outlier. That's why the hybrids were in it, even though I hate hybrids. The hybrids were in it because the first two had hybrids in it, and I wanted to connect them together. And I personally think that the way I did it, making Biosyn responsible for the research all along, and making it clear that they had been secretly bankrolling it from the start. I think that works quite nicely as you know, it fits quite nicely in with everything. But then these same people who sort of demanded the Camp Cretaceous and Chaos Theory references, which I find weird because Chaos Theory wasn't even a thing when Dominion came out. So I'm not sure why it would ever have Chaos Theory references in the first place. But yeah, those same people who then criticized me for not having those references and not considering the movie canon turned around and said that my use of the Spinosaurus was lazy fan service. Now, my bugbear with that is you cannot have it both ways. You cannot say that me using the Spinosaurus is lazy fan servicing, and then on the other hand say, oh, but we want you to have a reference to Camp Cretaceous in it. Because that's also lazy fan servicing. You know, you cannot have it both ways. You either have your nostalgic references to other films, or you don't. You can't kind of do both. And it just really pissed me off that some people were so double standard about that aspect. Not to mention, it was a fun little thought experiment. That was all. You know, it wasn't a serious take. It was a fun little experiment to see if I could come up with something that felt better than the film that we got. And they so defensive about it, about Camp Cretaceous, and this is just me ranting a bit, but sometimes it does feel that there are parts of the community that need to remember that not everyone is going to think their way, and that it would be nice if we could accept that people may have differing forms of opinion. And it would be nice if people could have those differing opinions and not feel like they were going to get horribly treated by the community because some parts of the community can't take a chill pill. You know, I'm a big fan of debate and discussion, as you guys know. There is a difference between that and just being a complete douchebag. It's one of the reasons we're no longer on Twitter. And if you haven't added us on Blue Sky, or if you haven't checked out Blue Sky yet, I vastly suggest you do so. Such a nicer community over there, it really is. Yeah, I think this guest area is forming nicely. We're gonna have, I think I'm gonna get rid of some area of path here. Maybe have another, like, garden area here, which we'll probably put the Suco in. I don't like that fountain there. I'll do something different. But this is turning out quite nicely. I'm going to leave it there for a minute. We're going to come to this guy. So I want to put animal in here. But what lagoon animal could we have? Now, I was thinking potentially something that would use the rocks, but you're not. If you're actually in first-person view, you can't actually see what's in there. And I could use the Cardenix Open Lagoons mod, but it doesn't work properly, and it doesn't work properly in a really annoying way. So I'm gonna leave it as it is, which means having a species like Nothosaurus or Archelon is probably kind of pointless. Megs and Chrono are way too big for a single lagoon. It's only one lagoon. No, we're talking something small. It's going to be on the smaller end of the scale. Nothos, Archelon, or Ichthy, or Plesio. Something of that size. Or maybe any of my modded ones, like Sungaripterus or Tencanthus. I just think there's no point... Well, I mean... Maybe there is a point having a rock, because... if we have a viewing tower anywhere, people would see it from the viewing tower. So, okay, maybe a Nothosaurus. Because Nothosaurus has some really great skins. I just think it's a great lagoon animal in general. Oh, of course, it's part of this. I do want to cover up that awkward looking fish feeder, because I think it looks ugly as sin. Oops. Where's the kind of halfway point? There. That's too tall. Place on ground. Thank you. There we go. Neatly hides the fish feeder. Stops it looking very ugly there on the side. I am going to keep these walls as they are, but we can always disguise them with some stuff. Possibly controversial opinion, but there are like 5 to 10-ish species in the game currently that I would sacrifice in order for more decorations and attractions. Oh, I could fill that list of 10 easily, sarcastic. Easily could fill that. Maiasaura definitely would be going. Okay, so we're going to have Nothosaurus in here. Can I? Thank you. And we are also going to have... I want there to be underwater viewing here. Now... the only problem with this dome is it's flipping huge, man. Like, it's absolutely massive. I really hate the changes to the camera they made back a few updates ago. It made, you know, making things very awkward. That'll about work. So the viewing dome is located underneath the rocks. And I would quite like the dinosaurs to have something a little bit interesting. So we're going to give them... this is a bit small for a lagoon. I feel a little bit harsh, but as long as we don't have too many no-thos in here, I think it's fine. I am going to give them an archway though. We are going to bed this in with a few bits of kelp. We're also going to put down a bunch of other rocks. And just bed it in with plenty of bits. Might cut a couple of other bits of kelp around. The frontier kelp, even though I don't really like the frontier kelp. It'll do. I give him a little bit of a bubble thing as well. Animals in aquariums do love bubble vents. I'm going to give him a little bit of a bubble vent as a... what's it called? Enrichment. Sorry, I am trying to keep track of chat, but also try and build as well. Changeable fence heights, yeah, or just different heights of fence that we can build. How would you make semi-aquatics like crocodiles work in the next game if somehow we don't get water depth? Well, I think with the way lagoons are now, we could already have semi-aquatic animals. And in reality, there's only two things. Well, actually, no. No, yeah. Two things that you would need to do to the lagoons as they are now to be able to have it. The first one is we need a decorative piece, or we need a lagoon piece that's a lot like these rocks, but have it take up a whole side and it just be a low beach. And maybe have it so that we can connect them together if you have like a couple on a long side, so you have like a kind of a long beach or beachy area. Have that kind of like put like its own vegetation and stuff in there, kind of like how the planters and fountains do. And then all we would then need is the ability to have a lagoon that is shallower. So have a lagoon depth setting. And if we then have all of the lagoon viewing structures and maybe a few extra ones like windows and stuff like that, then we wouldn't need to have placeable deep water for semi-aquatics. The alternative is that we have some sort of placeable deep water thing like a lagoon, but smaller and shallower, that we can place into an enclosure for semi-aquatics to use. Like a kind of like a pool that they just kind of walk into, swim around, and walk out of. That would also require you not to have placeable deep water. You just have placeable water ponds, you know. Thank you, Joe. I do, Berenson, sorry, I do kind of try to think about enrichment. There's no way that someone at Frontier didn't think of this stuff. Someone must have suggested it. Yeah, I mean, that's the rub, isn't it? Also, we need to, we should probably think about going and picking some skins for our dinosaurs. So I'll just put down a hatchery. But yeah, that is, that's the rub, isn't it? Is this question of, has someone at Frontier already suggested it and they've just not done it because Universal's got in the way? Or is it that we give Frontier too much credit when it comes to common sense and creativity, and that no one at Frontier has thought about that option? Now, given that they have made some really bizarre choices with Jurassic World Evolution 2 and Planet Coaster 2, I think it is plausible that the people at Frontier don't know necessarily what people who play their games enjoy. I think there is the possibility that there is a degree of ignorance, perhaps. Right, Nothosaurus. Nothosaurus. Oh, I have actually installed some new species, actually. What did I install? I'm sure I installed some new animals. Oh yeah, so we've now got Hipacrosaurus, just as an alternative to Corythosaurus. I'm sure there was a couple of others. And we've got a Datanglong, which I really loved for the quills. Corythoraptor, just because it's beautiful. And I think the other ones I had like a couple of cosmetics. I think the others were cosmetic mods. Anyway, Nothosaurus. There we are. There's our toothy boy. Right. Let's notepad and let's come up with some skins. Who would trade Lystrosaurus for Placerius? Well, Placerius is bigger and therefore would show up better. Now, I'm not necessarily going to be like hyper on the male-female species for this particular build. I just want to pick a couple of skins that just look good for a desert sort of build that we're going for. I do think the Death Valley is nice. The Lux patterns look kind of dull in the daytime, I feel. But I think we should have at least the blue in there. So, is there a... Okay, we'll go with the red. Okay, so Sonoran Desert and Pelophylax. Hello, King Giga. And the other one we'll make as not glowy. I do like the red stripe, so let's go for... Do you kind of like that? We'll go for that one. So, Killian Mountain and Paul Grana. Would you trade the hybrids minus the Irex and Iraptor for actual specimens? Well, I would trade in having the iRaptor and iRex, personally. I think the franchise needs to leave hybrids in the past. You know, Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom... You know, you only have to look at what was then said about Dominion. You know, when Dominion was being produced, they were like, no, we're moving away from the hybrids. They were an unpopular decision. As much as I think there are some really good hybrids out there, there's some redesigns of Stegoceratops and Ankylodocus that look fantastic. There's some really cool different hybrid designs as well that I've seen being, you know, created by other people. I mean, I've even invented 5 different hybrids myself. In fact, since we're taking a little bit of a break, let's... let me get one up for you guys. Which one? Actually, I'll show you all of them. So this was, you know, one of my own hybrids. This was, oh blimey, what was the name of the thing? I cannot remember what I called it. This was Verrucosaurus maritium, which means the rough-skinned lizard of the sea, which was a combination of Mosasaurus and Ankylosaurus. Then we had this guy. which, as you can see, is a combination of Ceratosaurus and Amargasaurus, which we called Spinoceratosaurus amarga, meaning spined horned lizard of Amarga. Then we have this guy, which was a combination of Parasaurolophus and Stegosaurus, which we called Stegolophosaurus nix, which means the night goddess roof-crested lizard. And we made this guy would be a lux animal as well, so this was how it would look in the dark. So you'd have colours on the crest, the stripes, and the thing. We then had this guy, which was a combination of Pteranodon and Velociraptor, so we called it Turniraptor Protos, the first winged thief, and we even gave it a Jurassic Park 3 raptor design. And we kind of imagined it as being like more aggressive and violent, like a Dimorphodon that was sort of 2 or 3 times the size and more violent and aggressive. We then had this guy, which was a combination of Liplorodon and Ichthyosaurus, which we called Carcharostoma ichthyes, meaning serrated-jawed fish. So it basically had the flippers of a Liplorodon, it had the tail of an ichthy, the frill of an ichthy, the skull of an ichthy, but the teeth of Liplorodon as well. But my favourite out of them all was this guy, which was a combination of Olorotitan and Quetzalcoatlus, which we called Olora Rustra Chaoticus, meaning chaotic build swan. And it's a herbivore. So this is like an Asdarkid that would walk around eating from tall trees like a sauropod. And then it would just fly away and find a new patch to eat. Out of all of the hybrids, me and Neron, because I did this with my fellow moderator for Evo, Neron, and this guy was my favourite. Neron also, because I requested it, he drew me a version of oh, hang on, let me he's a bit large. Hang on, let me downscale him. That picture was actually a lot larger than I suspected. So he drew me a fluffy Spinosaurus. So like, what if Spinosaurus had feathers? And we went with a kingfisher-esque color scheme. So blue feathers on the head, yellow feathers on the tadpole tail, which I thought was just a really cool, like, interpretation. But yes, I have made my own hybrids. As a thought experiment. But for the franchise, I do think we need to move away from them. because I don't think they've really brought anything good to the franchise. If anything, I feel that the hybrids has actually kind of brought a degree of Sonoran Desert and Pelophylax. I feel that it's brought some antagonism, because I feel that the hybrids have split the community into people who think they're a great thing and people who don't. And I feel there's quite a lot of antagonism there, because I think the people who don't like the hybrids think that the people who do are just stupid and childish and they're kids and blah 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 blah. And then I think the people who do like the hybrids then end up being like, well, the people who don't like hybrids, they're just purists. They don't like anything that isn't after the first film. I feel like the hybrids has kind of damaged the community in that way. So I would not necessarily be against Jurassic World Evolution 3 simply not having hybrids. I would also not particularly be saddened if Jurassic World Evolution 3 did not have every animal that Jurassic World Evolution 2 has in it. I would be saddened if animals they skipped were brought back in DLC so we could pay for them again. That would bug me. If they're not going to have animals from the first 2 games in the 3rd game on launch, the animals shouldn't be there at all. We should not pay for the same animal again. There we go. Our first species. Toothy boys. I do actually want to see what this all looks like in the dark, because I haven't seen the Lux animals in the new super dark mode that Kyodenics mod brings. Well, I have to say, these look rather nice in the dark, don't they? Oh, actually, thinking about it, I wonder how these areas look. Maybe a little dark. Might need to put some lighting inside here, because it's all a bit dark. Oh, the Lux patterns show up super good now. Oh, glowy boy. Yes, Kyodenics super dark mode. I would say if you do mod the game, do get his dark mode mod, because it really does make nighttime. Yes, we don't want another secret species pack situation. Oh, talking of Planet Coaster 2. I have put Suko in Jurassic Jaws. There he is. But I'll probably move this to over here at some point. But yeah, it's talking about Planet Coaster 2. I was catching up on my Twitter, and Delay Designer, who some of you might know of, does a lot of content. For the various Planet games. She was able to show that according to numbers, Planet Coaster 2 has less people playing it now after, you know, about a couple of weeks, maybe a month of its release, has less people playing it now than Planet Zoo does. You know, a game that is old and launched years and years ago. I think it's safe to say that Planet Coaster 2 has not had a very good launch. I suspect that we'll get a statement from Frontier, like we got with Jurassic World Evolution 2, to say that the game has underperformed. And honestly, it serves them completely correct. It serves them right. You cannot release a shoddy, underprepared, badly made game and expect people to be happy with it. You just can't. Oh, I see. You'll let me put that there. There you go. I have... Obviously, I don't want to see Frontier fail as a company, you know. I have absolutely no wish for them to have bad times, you know. Fundamentally, at the end of the day, when these computer game companies struggle, it's the basic, you know, the everyday staff who suffer because they end up losing their jobs. As we've already seen, you know, Frontier fired a bunch of people last year. So I have no wish to see that happen. But I do think that Frontier needs to learn a lesson. And if they have to suffer a bit, then they have to suffer a bit, you know. Sometimes the only way to learn a lesson is the hard way. There we go, that looks good, doesn't it? Now what I want to put in these little bits here, I want to put a large tree. We'll bed it in with plants and stuff, but I don't want them that tall. I'm gonna shrink them down a little bit. There we go. Ubisoft is in a similar situation. Yes, Ubisoft are having a lot of trouble right now. Unlike Frontier, though, when it comes to these bigger companies like EA and Ubisoft, they totally deserve it, and I would not be sad to see them go the way of the dinosaurs. They can disappear for all I care, because they're terrible companies with terrible practices, and I would not be sad to see them go. Activision Blizzard is another one of those companies that I think should definitely go. It's gonna take me a while to put all the vegetation here. But in, like, the first time I did this park, these were just, it was just all path, and it just looked a bit ugly. So this time round I wanted to just make it look a little bit greener, a little bit more interesting. And obviously, as long as there's like a viewing tower kind of here looking, you know, roughly this way, people will still see the no-thos sunning themselves on the rocks. If EA made Jurassic World Evolution 3, we'd be playing a constantly updated game that somehow never changes for a solid decade. Exactly. I feel like the more popular online gaming gets, the worse companies make and sell games. Yeah, I mean, this is going to sound like me doing the back in my day thing, but it's true. You know, back in my day, it does feel like games were better. I feel like there was more genuine desire to actually make a good game as opposed to a good product that can be sold. I feel like there were actually artistic, visionary people making games. And it doesn't feel that way now. It feels like what we have now is an industry full of people who just make things because they want to make money. I feel like the sort of people who came into the industry to actually make good games have gone. A lot of those are either with indie companies now or making their own games. And there are so many good indie games out there, but unfortunately indie games will never, you know, there's always the fact that it is an indie game, and therefore it will never be as big as a mainstream game. I also feel like part of the problem is the generation, you know, my generation, the people who grew up with a very different type of video game. I think a lot of us no longer can consider ourselves gamers. I think a lot of my generation no longer play video games very regularly. Because we have lives, we have other things we're interested in. Kids, you know. Me and Dane are probably, and Fallout are probably some of the few people I know that play video games regularly. And that's because we have a passion for them. Of our age group, anyway. So I think that contributes a little bit to the way modern gaming has gotten now, because it does feel like a lot of the younger generation, they're more prepared to put up with the shit practices of certain companies. You know, they will happily play a game like Fortnite and put huge amounts of money into a game like Fortnite, which is just the most disgraceful trash. Literally a game designed to use pop culture to sell virtual tat to 12-year-olds. That's what it seems to be to me. You know, they can't come up with interesting characters of their own. They have to have FNAF characters. Oh, we have to have Star Wars characters. Oh, we have to have Marvel characters. Because they can't come up with interesting characters of their own. They just pilch characters from other franchises and put them into their game. Because they know that kids will buy it because it has their favourite character from FNAF or whatever else in it. And it's just really kind of sad to see what has happened to gaming. You know, a lot of the video games that I grew up with as a kid, which I absolutely adored, the companies often no longer exist, and if the games still exist, the games have been ruined. SimCity was ruined by EA. Maxis no longer exists. Command & Conquer was ruined by EA, and I think it was Westgate or Westworld no longer Westwood. That was the company. So yeah, Bethesda is slowly ruining Fallout. It's just overall really depressing. I feel like I lived through the golden age of gaming, and I feel like kids now are never going to have the same sort of experiences that we had, or I had growing up. Like, being exposed to Call of Duty when it first came out, Spore when it was in development, and the huge amount of interest and hype behind that. I feel like that's not going to happen again. And I feel sad. I once tried to look at Fortnite because of the cool character skins, but it's also expensive. Someone locked season passes. Yeah. Like, modern gaming just seems to be posh executives who obviously don't care about games doing everything they can to take money from people. I sometimes I look at the sort of quality of video game that we get these days, and I wonder, like, when they were developed, did anyone use the word fun? Like, during the development, did that word ever get mentioned? Or was it all just money, money, money? Because there are some games I legitimately look at when they come out, and I'm like, who has this been made for? Shareholders or players? Just wanted to make this look a little bit more green because I felt it looked a little bit bare. Yeah, what will they remember? Microtransactions? Honestly. Back in my day, and again, using that phrase, but back in my day, you brought a game, and it was finished the day you brought it. You could play it the day you brought it. It didn't need a day one patch. And if there was DLC or if there was a DLC for it, it came out months later and was called an expansion pack and was generally a really substantial expansion to your game. Whole new campaigns and, you know, huge amounts of work went into expansion packs. I mean, did you see what Frontier did with Planet Coaster 2? On day one, it launched with a DLC that was £17, and it included a bunch of rides and decorations that they cut from the first game. I mean, how cheeky is that? Utterly disgraceful. One more olive tree in here. We'll put it there. That's looking pretty good. I do want some seating around here. I was thinking of putting it in these like little alcovey spaces. Or putting it like underneath the trees. I think underneath the trees is quite a nice little, or maybe like along these edges. Where are the benches? I think under the trees. Hmm. One, two, three. Maybe have benches like. Where are the these? How big? Would be too big. I don't want to put fence here though. Something like that. Maybe if we put like, where are those? Does that look okay? I think it does. I think that looks alright. Some shaded seating underneath the big trees. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they repeated Jurassic World Evolution 3, what they've already done with Planet Coaster 2. Oh, sarcastic paleontologist, I completely agree. Oh, well, I agree with the first half. I hate people who do recreations. Because I just think... I think if all you do on this game is recreate parks that have already been in film and TV, if that's all you do, then you're kind of... you're not playing the game in the spirit of the point. Like, the point of this game is to build your Jurassic World Park, whatever. It's not to recreate one that's been before. You're building your own Jurassic World Park, whatever. Of course, I understand that that's difficult for a lot of the younger generation now because they have zero imagination, it seems. I know that's a very uniform statement, but it does sometimes feel that the younger generations have absolutely zero imagination when it comes to anything. I mean, I responded to someone on Reddit earlier on who asked whether there was a mod for Jurassic World Evolution 2 to have you play as a dinosaur. And my response was, no, just play the aisle. And their response was, oh, I don't like dinosaur survival games. I'm like, so what is it exactly that you were after playing as a dinosaur? You just wanted to, what, smash apart a park and eat some people? Kind of feels boring to me. Why would you not build? I just don't understand. I've seen people request this a lot for Jurassic World Evolution 3 features. Like, have a feature where we can, like, play as a dinosaur and escape, or have a feature where we can play in first person and escape our park when it all goes wrong. And I'm like, why? Like, what is exactly the point? It's a park building game. You're supposed to build a park. You're not... That's what it is for. Hello, Velocity Informer. I'm deciding to like making parks where the dinosaurs are with species they live with, or free roaming. Yeah, species, doing it based on what they in real life live with. You know, it's a good strategy for nice looking exhibits. Well, you know, in 2 hours, I think we got a fair amount done. You know, we got our guest area pretty focused there. I need to finish, you know, doing all the decoration stuff, and we got our plaza created. I think that looks a lot better than the plaza I had the first time round. And we got our novos in here, happily sunning themselves on the rocks there. I might put a few trees and stuff on this rock just to make it look a little less bare, because I do hate how awfully unimaginative Frontier was with that. But yeah, I think overall this is looking very good. And next time, I think next time we're here, what we'll do is I think I want to like stay on this side, so build this enclosure first, then move over here and build the attraction and this enclosure. So yeah, we'll do this enclosure next time, which in the first park had Ceratosaurus in. So I think we'll go for a carnivore again, but I'm thinking, well, I have a few ideas of what I'd like to have in here, but I won't spoil it yet. But anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been very, very busy, so thank you. If you haven't liked this stream already, please do so. It does help the channel grow. If you haven't subscribed, also please do so. And if you are on Blue Sky, please do add us at Triclaw Gaming. I'm going to be using Blue Sky more and more, so yeah, if you do have it, would love to see you there. And yeah, we'll see you next week. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Sundays wherever you are. Stay safe, and good night.